This week, we learned the Australian economy grew by 0.2% over the past quarter, slightly below expectations. But per capita, it's even less impressive. We went backwards by 0.3%. Chief Economist of macro business, Leith van Onselen, describes it as the economic pie growing, but everyone's slice of that pie is shrinking. Leith, thank you so much for joining me. Why?
Yeah, well, basically, as you nicely explained, Erin, basically the economy isn't growing as quickly as the population growth. So obviously the Albanese government's running a huge immigration program. And according to the national accounts, Australia's population grew by nearly 680,000 people last calendar year. And the economy just hasn't grown fast enough to keep up with that. And as a result, basically per capita GDP went backwards by 1% last calendar year. So we all went backwards. And to make matters worse, and this is even worse, Erin, the household sector, so Australian household consumption actually fell by 2.5% once you adjust for population growth last year. So households absolutely copping it in the neck here, and our living standards are going backwards.
They're copping it in so many ways. You talk about living standards, and one of the causes of that is this huge influx of people. Talk to me about immigration, about housing, and how Labor are failing us.
Yeah, look, I'm not going to beat around the bush here. The housing market in Australia is an absolute disaster. Now, Domain released some rental vacancy data this week, and it showed that Australia's national rental vacancy rate fell to a record low of just 0.7% in February. Now, that's the lowest on record. As I said, it's tight across the board, pretty much everywhere across Australia. And again, this has been driven by a population increase of nearly 680,000. And to make matters worse, our housing construction is actually collapsing. So we only built about 170,000 homes last year, and the latest dwelling approvals data from the ABS says we're only going to build 163,000. Now, that's 77,000 below the Albanese government's housing target, Erin, so we're not even close. So the growing population massively at the same time as the supply side's collapsing. And I think the question everybody needs to ask the Albanese government is why have they brought in record numbers of people into Australia without a plan to house them and also to provide infrastructure for them? Because this is a disaster.
It's not like Leith, potentially they just didn't see it coming, or, they got confused. Or there's no way that not only a government, but all the departments, all the people they have, all the taxpayer-funded jobs that look into all this kind of stuff, they would have known that we don't have enough houses for the people coming in. We don't have enough houses for the people here. So why do they do it? I understand the money they get from bringing more people in, but surely they couldn't see this being anything other than a complete disaster.
Yeah, and it was absolutely deliberate. So they ran the Jobs and Skills Summit in 2022 with the express purpose of ramp up immigration. And obviously you're doing it into a supply-constrained economy. And the reason for that is we've got high interest rates. Materials cost for building houses has gone through the roof, so builders can't make a profit. And we also obviously have labour shortages because now builders are competing with state governments to build infrastructure for all these extra people that are coming in, which means that we've starved the housing construction sector of labour. And as a result, we can't build enough homes for this record volume of people, which means that we've got a rental crisis. Rents are going through the roof. People are being forced to live in group housing and they're becoming homeless. And this is firmly on the federal government.
The Daily Telegraph this morning reported the Reserve Bank's most recent rate hike in November 2023 should have been seen as an error. Do you agree?
Yes, they definitely have over-tightened. And we're seeing that with the labour market, for example. So the last 6 months of the year, the number of hours worked in the economy has fallen. We've seen it in the household sector with retail sales collapsing, household consumption collapsing, and basically the economy is stalling a lot more than what the Reserve Bank expected. And for that reason, the only silver lining here, Erin, is that the Reserve Bank's going to be forced to cut interest rates in the second half. And I'm very sure of that.
Leith van Onselen, you are wonderful. I can't say brilliant because I think I've said it to my last two guests, so I need another descriptor, but you're all wonderful. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks very much.